Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we're doing a retrospective review of Pieces, Boston, the new home of the Chainsaw Massacre.
Directed by Juan Piquer Simón, starring Christopher George, Lynda Day George, Edmund Purdom, and Ian Serra. This movie's about a boy who's caught putting a puzzle of a naked woman together by his mother. He grabs an axe and kills her. 40 years later, we're at Boston College, and there's a chainsaw-wielding massacre happening. All the ladies that turn up dead are missing body parts, and somebody's playing with the pieces. This is a recommendation from our top donator over on Patreon, Deke. He reached out and he's like, I realized going back through your catalog, there's a couple movies missing that should be on every horror movie review channel, and Pieces is one of them. And I'm like, you're fucking right. This has been on the list. This, Intruder, and Prowler. We shot Intruder already. We're doing Pieces. We'll do Prowler someday. Well, here we are. And it's full spoilers ahead. What do we like? I liked that our killer used the most inconspicuous chainsaw ever. The guy is sneaking up on people and using this big ass chainsaw, and no one seems to hear him. In one scene, like later into the movie, they use the sirens to drown out the chainsaw sounds. But the first time we see him, he's just like talking to a girl who's studying on the lawn, not fucking like everyone else apparently. He's just like, oh, I'll just be a minute.
Just a few minutes, miss.
Okay.
And then he just goes and cuts her head off. It was fucking glorious.
The kills in this film are fantastic. My personal favorite is when he does the lower torso in like the shower, and then you see the aftermath of just like the body sitting there. The kills were great. There's one that is very funny, the waterbed kill.
The waterbed kill cracks me up. The aftermath obviously is funny. The intent is he just keeps stabbing her and it comes out the front. Very cool. However, if you notice, when he goes to like stab her in the back of the head, the knife bends in such a weird way. You're like, why didn't they reshoot that? We shot a commentary for this at the same time, and I called it out immediately. I'm like, my guy, like, reshoot that. Commentary linked in the description. Check out the Patreon. We've got tons of commentaries.
I love the ridiculousness of this movie. The downright silliness of Willard's character. Like,
Willard.
Yeah, sorry, Willard.
Willard.
His character just throwing like the cops around, and we're supposed to believe that he's the killer. Even the greatest moment in this film, when the Kung Fu professor shows up.
First of all, why was he attacking some random woman? Like, he just jumps out of nowhere, starts like doing some Kung Fu shit, and why was he given a free pass where it's just like, oh, that's my Kung Fu professor, don't worry about him. And she's like, okay. And then he just walks on, see you later.
Something I eat. Bad chop suey. So long. Take it easy.
Oh yeah, he had bad chop suey, sorry. Every time I have a bad meal, I fucking whoop the shit out of girls in the dark.
And then we had like the ultimate like fake out. You hear that like chainsaw sound effect. We're gonna have the killer versus the Kung Fu professor. I just wanted to see this, and then sure enough, Kendall shows up in his motorcycle.
Speaking of Kendall, I liked him. At first, you see him, you're like, look at this nerd.
Takes the glasses off, goes like full Superman on us here, and is like a Casanova stud.
Casanova!
He's literally banging the whole campus. He goes from being a nerd, getting passed notes like, hey, meet me in the pool. And we're like, whoa, the nerd's getting a shot. Later to find out and see his dick at the same time that he's a playa. And he was going for the tennis player, the undercover. Like, I'm gonna walk into this college and no one's gonna recognize me. Although I am a massive tennis champion of some sort, and literally everybody knows who I am.
What's a tennis champion doing in this place?
Going back to the kills, the very first kill in this movie, the death of the mother, was a great setup, because then you know exactly what you're getting into, because it was unexpected. A, it was a great kill, and B, it's like one of those like wake up moments. You're just like, oh, I'm invested now.
And we obviously knew the time was gonna pass. We're like, oh, 15 years? No, a whole 40 years, so it's like a 50-year-old dude doing all this stuff. And you have no idea because you're walking around and you're like, are the detectives it? Is the dean the guy? Is like, who's the killer? There's so many 50-year-olds walking around this college.
Remember we said it's Professor Brown in the courtyard with the chainsaw.
Can I just say, his fucking wardrobe, oh my god. He looks like a walking couch, and not in a fun killer sofa kind of way.
Professor Brown was a very interesting character choice. I'll give him that.
I suppose I'm so used to bodies. Dead ones, that is. I'm afraid I'm callous.
And a good red herring. There were a lot of good red herrings, like
Except for Willard.
yeah, except for Willard because he's literally 200 pounds heavier than everyone else. There's no way he was hanging up in a tree with a fucking chainsaw a minute ago when he cut that babe in half. There's no way. I do want to mention this too. Our killer walked into an elevator with a woman who was willingly like, "Oh, you look just like the Black Spy versus Spy guy, and you have a chainsaw? Come on in." As he gets in with the chainsaw, he's standing in front of her. She's not even like wincing. She's not even thinking this guy's gonna murder her until he starts revving it up. What the actual fuck are you doing?
Considering she just spent like the last 2 minutes like running out of the studio because she was in a panic thinking someone was gonna get her.
Oh, someone's after me. Oh, thank God we have you. Whoever you are with a chainsaw. That's what's fun about this movie. It just keeps one-upping itself in just ridiculousness because you're constantly saying, who the fuck wrote this?
Even like the part like where Mary is like drugged on the couch and Kendall and the cops bust in and she just can't move and she's like trying to tell them that like the killer's behind the curtains and you just see her shifting eyes like, look over there, no, let's all leave the room and figure out what's happening.
It was so fun. This was a really fun movie. Even from just like the girl on the banana board like skating right into a fucking mirror. Like, how?
Let's go back to Kendall here for a second. He could do anything. He's taking kung fu, tennis, banging all the girls.
You know Alicia, that blonde in anthropology?
You made her too? Wow, Kendall, how do you do it?
I just whistle and they come running.
But then he's also solving crimes on the side.
Yeah, they just like slipped him in as like a new detective. By the way, do you have any time? Can you go through these case files? And our gray-haired boy who looks like Leslie Nielsen, he's like, I've been working 23 hours a day and I can't find a lead. The guy comes in for like 15 minutes like, here's a lead. Here's a lead. Like, he's just perfect.
Kendall is the Lucifer of this movie. For any Lucifer fans out there, this is what he does. He's not a cop, but he solves the crimes and bangs all the ladies.
I also liked our other nerd.
By the way, you free tonight, huh? Hey, so I'm slayed by a withering look. Gives a shit.
But as a footnote for this, we watched this with English dubs. A lot of people are like, hey, you should watch foreign films with subtitles. Not 80s slashers. I'm never doing it. I'm always putting on the dubs because most of it's ADR anyway, so it basically fit. He was like one of the few characters that I think wasn't actually speaking English on set, but his voice actor that took over his role just fucking owned it, and I loved it.
Don't tell me I'm the bearer of bad news. I could kill myself.
No, it's all right.
Good, I'm too young to die.
Now, what didn't we like? A big issue is the ending. The ending's fucking garbage.
What part of the ending are we talking
Okay,
here?
I like the Frankenhooker, like, secret door business. That was fun. He's trying to rebuild his mother with all these babes. He does so successfully. I'm not, like, in a necrophilia or anything, but I'm just saying, bang up job. However, is it a zombie? Because it grabbed his dick at the end and ripped it off.
It's because these are all the women that Kendall has slept with. Their souls have like returned to the body and like they're enraged with being used. It was one of two things. They either wanted to rip his dick off or they all wanted to have sex with him again. So they were like,
So
this is
eager to
mine.
get that cock.
They needed the D.
I didn't like that the dean had 2 kitchens, because I'm jealous, and he had a glass door in between them. Just make it open concept so you can walk to the other sink. It's quite the apartment.
Oh, here's a good dislike about the dean. Where is the motive? 40 years and this comes up?
Yeah, he like does this puzzle. It's like, great. You like putting babes together. You killed your mother immediately. And then you went and just had a successful career as a college dean. You've just been going up the ranks for decades. And then all of a sudden, finally, there are 5 girls on campus that fit the optimal body type for my mother that I want to build.
Yeah, he's like, this one has the same face. This has the same arms. This one has the same buttocks. And like, he's like putting it all together. And then finally he's like, world-renowned tennis player Mary. I need her feet.
You would think he'd want her, like, wrist. Now, I don't want to sound like a creepy serial killer here, but hear me out. If I'm personally going to build a woman out of like body parts. Dancers' legs are probably the best legs. I'm not looking for your arms really, but like the tennis person, you would take the arms. And even the first person, he took the head, but it looked like he was just straight up staring at the booty. I thought he was chopping that middle bit out.
The dancer earlier on established that she had a nice like torso and chest with the anatomy professor.
I think you mean boobs.
The most beautiful thing in the world is smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed at the same time.
Again, Willard was not a good red hair. I did love how they kept trying to set it up. Anytime after there's a death scene, he's the first one to walk on the scene.
They must be testing the system.
But who? I thought that was your job.
No way, lady.
To be fair, he was a fucking idiot, and the moment there was like a chainsaw sitting there, he's like, I'm gonna go and wrap my hands around this murder weapon. And so did the fucking Dr. Brown.
Don't touch it, Professor. You could have destroyed some evidence.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I love this movie. This movie fucking rocked. It was so weird and just hilarious. It's probably one of the better 80s slasher movies to watch, especially if you have a crowd. And even by yourself, I think you'd really enjoy it because it's so crazy. The situations with the killer with his massive chainsaw just sneaking around and killing people without anybody being aware of it is just so hilarious. There is a little bit of a whodunit, but I mean, it's obviously going to be a 50-plus-year-old man, so it's not that hard to figure out. But I did really like it. And the kills, we had great kills. We had a lot of blood splatter all over the place. We had some babes, including some nudity, which we neglected to mention in the likes. I don't know how, but my rating item, the babe at the pool is the best. And we had just like enjoyable characters and just weird things just all slammed together. Like the fact that there is a professional tennis player being an undercover tennis coach at a college to try and solve a murder is just a weird fucking idea. I love the writing, and I liked a lot about it. I don't think it's the perfect movie by any means, but it is a really fun time, so I would recommend it. And I'll give this 4 catches of the day out of 5.
Everything about this film was a lot of fun. I liked our characters, and I liked that we had a variety of like chainsaw deaths. Like even though it was like mainly the one weapon, whether it was like ripping off an arm or like cutting through a torso, it just always looked cool. I think the biggest issue I have with this film is the whodunit aspect because it's very weak in its storytelling and providing us with red herrings. Kendall is a fantastic character. I had so much fun seeing him on screen because he was just the boy who could do anything. You can probably tell by the excitement in our voices how much we enjoyed it.
Let's see if your enthusiasm is still going strong in the wee hours of the morning.
If you haven't seen it, this is definitely a slasher you need to check out, especially as an English dub. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4.5, looking for a nightcap out of 5.
Mary, aren't you making coffee?
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, check out the link to the Patreon, also in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.